Welcome to the news on Zodiac. With me, Job Frank Chakaza. The headlines. Health expert on new COVID-19 vaccines. Center for Social Concern pushes for policy review to cushion the citizenry from effects of rising cost of living. Court grants bail to 12 Sidedio officials arrested on Wednesday for illegal assembly in Lilongwe. Across the borders, South Africa urges more men to take COVID-19 jabs. Now the news in detail. A public health expert, Professor Maureen Chira, has called on government to devise measures that would build trust of the citizenry on the Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccine. The recommendation comes amidst concerns of low uptake of the vaccine, which Chira says is a result of loss of trust on the new vaccine being administered. Spokesperson in the Ministry of Health, Adrian Chikumbe, says they have taken a multi-sectoral approach to achieve their goal. Shimome Badata has more.
Low uptake of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is worrying public health expert Professor Maureen Chira. She is recommending that government should devise measures that would build trust on the vaccine among the citizenry.
Educating the masses will be very key. If the community is using all the structures that are there, we would like to ask those responsible to make sure that people understand.
Ministry of Health spokesperson Adrian Jigumbe says the ministry has already hit the ground running by employing a multi-sectoral approach that includes faith leaders among this group.
Just last week, we were meeting one of the cohorts of the faith leaders, and it's a continuous process because with COVID-19, new messages keep coming in, and so every time we have new information, we want to reach out to the groups that also talk to the people, including the faith leaders.
Administration of the 302,400 Johnson & Johnson doses Malawi received rolled out Monday this week. This is Chimwemwe Parata for Zodiac.
Meanwhile, a new consignment of 119,000 AstraZeneca doses is expected in the country this Saturday. Minister of Information, who is also government spokesperson Gospel Kazako, has called on members of the public to avoid mixing the vaccines.
People are expected to go and they receive these vaccines so that we're able to move very steadily in as far as the fighting the pandemic is concerned. AstraZeneca, you get 2 jabs. You get the first one and you wait for 12 weeks. And you can go after 12 weeks, you can get it after 16 weeks, but it shouldn't be before 12 weeks. It can be 16 weeks, it can be 20 weeks, it can be any time. You can actually go and get the second jab. Johnson & Johnson, it's once. You receive once. Let me repeat. Johnson & Johnson, once. You don't go again. It's one time, you're good to go. AstraZeneca, twice, 2 times. That after 12 weeks, you go and get the second jab. So people should not mix. And those that had gotten the first jab of AstraZeneca should not go and receive Johnson & Johnson because that mixing is not good. That's not how these vaccines were designed.
Staying on COVID, the Malawi Red Cross Society says it has a deficit of 2.9 billion kwacha of 5.4 billion kwacha budget for COVID-19 third wave intervention. The Society's Secretary General McBain Kanongoza said during a media orientation on COVID-19 vaccine in Doha that they believe donors will come forward to help cover up the deficit. Meanwhile, expanded program on immunization manager in the Ministry of Health, Dr. Mark Chisema, says procurement of storage equipment for Pfizer vaccine is at an advanced stage, saying the vaccine needs to be stored at a temperature of not less than 80 or rather minus 80 degrees Celsius for only 6 months. Aunyango Nkoma filed this report. Well, looks like we'll not be able to bring you that report for now. Moving on with the news, the Center for Social Concern is pushing for a review of some policies to cushion the majority of the citizenry from the effects of the high cost of living. Sentiments from the center's programs officer Bernard Mpepo follow a growing concern from most Malawians that the cost of living is soaring almost every day, hence making life unbearable. Mpepo explains what needs to be done to normalize the situation. We seem to be having a technical glitch there. The Executive Director for the Consumers Association of Malawi, Kama, John Capito, says the problems are emanating from the country's poor state of the economy. Now, stakeholders, let's go back to COVID-19. Malawi National Examinations Board, MANEB, has dismissed speculations that only those teachers and security officers who have received the COVID-19 vaccine will be allowed to invigilate national examinations scheduled to start next month. MANEB's acting executive director, Dorothy Nampota, told Zodiak the board respects COVID-19 regulations and understands that taking COVID-19 vaccine remains a personal choice. A message purporting that MANEB has put the order has been making rounds in social media platforms.
A message purporting that MANEB has put a restriction order on unvaccinated teachers from invigilating national examinations from next month has been in circulation on social media platforms. An education commentator, Benedicto Gondowe, told Zodiac imposing forced jabs on teachers is an infringement on rights of the teaching profession.
It should be a decision that is widely consulted, because to some extent it could infringe on rights of persons, considering that we do not have mandatory vaccination in this country. If indeed that was the intention of government, then perhaps that could have been the operation of the law.
But MANEB acting executive director Dorothy Nampota says the institution respects COVID-19 regulations. As such, it cannot force teachers to take the jab.
The message that those who are not vaccinated will not participate in the vigilation of the MANEB examinations come next month is false. It's not true. We are going to welcome all teachers to help us with invigilation. It's up to each one of us to get vaccinated so that we protect ourselves, but also we protect others.
Forced COVID-19 jabs on workers raised public uproar the past few weeks after MEC announced it will not allow unvaccinated employees to report for duties. This is Chimwemwe Padata for Zodiac.
Stakeholders advocating for sexual reproductive health rights say unsafe abortion continues to contribute highly on maternal mortality in the country because little attention is given to address challenges arising from the practice. Speaking during the Southern Africa Gender Protocol Alliance SADC Summit side event, Chairperson for Parliamentary Committee on Health, Dr. Matthews Ngwale, said about 70 cases of unsafe abortions are recorded in the country's major hospitals every month. This, he said, calls for intensified sensitization for communities to demand legalization of safe abortion. We have a report filed by Winston Kaimira.
Debate on whether or not the country should legalize safe abortion is being taken to communities which some stakeholders suggest should be sensitized to make informed decisions. Chairperson for the Parliamentary Committee on Health, Dr. Matthews Ngware, argues that lives of women, most of them teenagers, are being lost due to unsafe abortion, which needs to be addressed. He says women need to be in the forefront in pushing for the legalization of safe abortion. He was speaking in Lilongwe during the Southern Africa Gender Protocol Alliance SADC Summit side event.
I gave statistics of how many cases we are having in each and every health facility per district, 71, 72 women each month. And I thought that was a very serious case, and we needed, as a country, to do something about it. I expressed disappointment that women have not been forthcoming.
Chief of Health Services in the Ministry of Health, Dr. Queen Due, said debate on matters affecting sexual reproductive health rights is crucial in planning.
When you look at this abortion issue, it's a very complex issue. It's not just about the health sector saying, okay, let's allow everybody else to abort. It's a very complex issue. And that's why we have this multi-sectoral approach to try and tackle this issue.
Recently, Parliament turned down a motion to discuss the pregnancy termination bill, which lacked support from both government and the opposition. Winston Kamira reporting for Zodiac in Lilongwe.
The Women Manifesto movement has become the latest institution to question legal fees Women Lawyers Association obtained from representing Nsundwe rape victims. Coordinator of the movement, Maggie Katera-Banda, says in a statement that the women lawyers need to reflect on the decision. Spokesperson for Women Lawyers Association, Adpere Masanjara, has refused to shed more light, saying the matter is in court. Nonsa Zimba has filed this report.
The determination to award the Women Lawyers Association a whopping 255 million kwacha for representing Msundwe rape victims has sparked public outrage, with several stakeholders calling for revision of the costs, which they argue are higher than what the victims got as compensation. Latest react is Women Manifesto movement. National coordinator for the movement, Maggie Katera-Banda, thinks there is need for revision of the costs.
We would love them to go back to the original thinking that we had over this issue, because it was actually the Women's Manifesto movement that organized the protest that we had in October 2019, where we were able to highlight the plight of the women in Nsundwe, and we needed to do something about it. So the understanding of that time was that they were going to claim compensation, but also have justice served for the victims and not for the lawyers. But we're going to represent you in court, but for free.
But Women Lawyers Association spokesperson Adube Masanjala says she could not comment on the matter that is in court. In 2019, about 100 police officers were deployed in 3 teams stationed at Mbwatalika, Msundwe and Mpingu trading centers along the Longwe-Mchinji Road, with others roving in communities where they allegedly tear-gassed people to displace them. It is believed that in the course of the operations, some police officers ventured into the villages and nearby locations, throwing tear gas into houses, beating and breaking into houses where they raped about 18 women. The women have since been compensated for the psychological torture they suffered.
You're watching the news here on Zodiac. We'll be back with more after this.
Good news to those staying in Zomba. The most affordable reliable network access is now available in town. Get your access business number today and enjoy the affordable rates. For more information, call 0212 200 200.
Access your world.
I choose to be smart. I choose to live a simple and easy life. I choose not to line up to pay my bills. This is why I go digital. Jump the queue. Pay your Lilongwe Water Board bills through mobile banking. Or you can pay through mobile money, as I always do. You can also check your water bill and balance by simply dialing *253#. With digital payments, you can save time and money. Be smart. Pay your bills on time.
Lilongwe Water Board. Lilongwe Water Board. Portable water all the time for all.
Welcome back. A look at the headlines as we continue with the news. A health expert calls on government to devise measures of building trust in the citizenry on new COVID-19 vaccines. Center for Social Concern pushes for policy review to cushion the citizenry from effects of rising cost of living. Court grants bail to 12 Sededi officials arrested on Wednesday for illegal assembly in Lilongwe. Across the borders, South Africa urges more men to take COVID-19 jabs. Moving on with the news, the Mkugula Magistrate Court in Doha has granted bail to leader of Center for Democracy and Economic Development Initiative, Sededi, Sylvester Namiwa, and 11 other officials accused of illegal assembly in Lilongwe on Wednesday. Senior Resident Magistrate Cecilia Onsewa has granted bail to the officials on condition that, among others, They pay 20,000 kwacha each and report to police every fortnight on Tuesday. We have a report filed by Western Guta.
The senior resident magistrate Cecilia Onsewa at Nkukula Court Indoor has released on bail 12 seated officials that were arrested last Wednesday for contravening the Assembly Law in the Police Act according to court proceedings. Magistrate Onsewa released the 12 that have denied the charge on condition that they each pay a bail bond of 20,000 kwacha, report to the National Police Headquarters on Tuesday fortnightly and not hold any demonstrations until the case is concluded. Defense lawyer Charles Muhango has said that he is convinced with how the case has commenced but could not understand why instead of Lilongwe where the offense was committed, the state opted to hear the case in Dowa. In his remarks, seated executive director Sylvester Namiwa has said that his organization will not relent in its quest to hold authorities to account.
We are getting out of these police cells highly energized. And by the way, this was just a misdemeanor, but I was chained to a leg iron. Imagine. This should be a worry to every Malawian who loves democracy.
Namiwa and his 11 colleagues were arrested at Parliament Building on Wednesday in Lilongwe for contravening police laws on assembly. The case has been adjourned to 13th September. For Zodiac, I am Western Guta.
Local organizations in the fight against human trafficking have urged government to improve on collaboration with them in establishing more safe homes for survivors that are well monitored. Board chairperson for People Serving Girls at Risk PSGR, Margaret Ali, said a lot needs to be done to maximize safety in the houses. Human Trafficking Desk Officer at Homeland Security Ministry, Kondwani Kamanga, said government will work on the proposal. Soselina Ngoma has filed a report.
Findings of a latest study by the Malawi Human Rights Commission, MHRC, indicate that at least 30 people are being trafficked daily in the country. Speaking at a panel discussion Friday, MHRC Deputy Director for Gender, Debola Tambulas Banda, says the situation is gloomy. Tambulas Banda added that COVID-19 has contributed to the current trends as many Malawians are jobless, thereby falling into trap of traffickers.
Based on the reports that we have seen throughout, the issues of human trafficking, they are increasing, the cases are increasing. However, this we have seen different law enforcers, the police and the courts including, and the immigration officers helping a lot on the same.
People Saving Girls at Risk Board Chairperson Margaret Ali says the figures are alarming, calling for quick action by government.
Obviously, there should be monitoring what the NGOs are doing and if those shelters qualify to be shelters. There were some complaints that one shelter especially, that the victims there were not very comfortable. So if we had regular inspections, I think one would see the need of some more shelters, and we'd also make those shelters be more homely rather than a place where somebody is just passing.
Meanwhile, Human Trafficking Desk Officer in the Ministry of Homeland Security, Kondwani Kamanga, says government is working towards taming the vice. The discussion was part of celebrating World Day Against Human Trafficking, which falls on July 30th.
Now let's turn to sports. The Minister of Sports has announced plans to call for a sports indaba later this year to review how sports is run in the country. Minister responsible Ule Munsungama has told us that the indaba will, among other things, brainstorm on how to improve the sports industry. Meanwhile, some sports associations have hailed the move, saying it is an opportunity for them to voice their grievances. Brad Kanyama has filed a report.
Minister of Sports Ule Munsungama says sports in the country has the potential to improve and become an industry which can help in the development of the country. Sungama says sports activities in the country are not being run professionally and there is need to review them at an Indawa which is scheduled to take place later this year. Meanwhile, some sports associations have hailed the move, saying the Indawa will give a platform where they will table their grievances. Vice President of Bodybuilding and Weightlifting Association Bright Limani, who is also General Secretary of Kickboxing of Malawi, says he will lobby for increased funding to the associations. However, he pleaded with the ministry that whatever will be discussed at the Indawa must be implemented.
In Malawi, we have got this problem whereby we come up with good ideas, come up with good strategies and strategic plans, etc. But we fail to make sure that these plans are implemented as we formulated them.
On his part, Judo Association of Malawi General Secretary Osborne Banda told us that though the decision to call for an Indawa has come late, it is necessary for associations to meet at one place to review the sports industry. This is coming barely days after the Minister of Sports Ule Munsungama arrived in the country from Japan, where he attended proceedings at the 2020 at the delayed 2020 Tokyo Olympic Games. For Zodiac, this is Bright Kanyama.
In news from elsewhere, South Africa is calling for more men to come out in great numbers and take COVID jabs as their numbers trail that of women. About 60% of vaccines have been administered to women, health officials noted on Friday during a media briefing on government's efforts in the fight against the disease. It comes as the country aims to vaccinate at least 70% of its total adult population by December. Director in the ministry, Nicholas Crisp, says as the number of fully vaccinated people currently stands at about 4 million, 28 million people will have to be vaccinated to meet the target. South Africa has so far registered 2.5 million cases of COVID and 76,243 deaths. It has the most cases in Africa. And that's about what we had time for in this news edition. Before we go, let's look at the headlines one more time. Calls on government to devise measures of building trust in the citizenry on new COVID-19 vaccines. Center for Social Concern pushes for policy review to cushion the citizenry from effects of rising cost of living. Court grants bail to 12 state officials arrested on Wednesday for illegal assembly in Lilongwe. Across the borders, South Africa urges more men to take COVID-19 jabs. Visit our website zodiacmalai.com for more news. My name is Joab Frank Chakaza. Thanks for watching. I wish you a lovely time.
Muntu mmodzi paekha sangamange mudzi, koma anthu angapo kubwera pamodzi timati uwu nde mudzi.